Hello, this is Sarah from Start, and today I'm going to show you how to make this cactus pin cushion. So I'm using this as a pin cushion, but you could actually just use it as an ornament. Makes quite a nice ornament, or maybe even use it as something to put rings on or jewellery. So all you need is some felt, some sewing thread or embroidery thread for these orange bits, some green thread to match the colour of the felt if you're using green, some brown felt to be the soil in the pot, a little pot. So what I've used is one of these, I think it was like a single serve ice cream tub thing, so I've just washed that and used one of those. Some washi tape to decorate the pot, but that's optional. And again, this is optional, but I've just used some pom-pom trim. So mine's a bit wobbly because I've only just glued it, so the glue's still got to set. But ideally it would be a bit more stable than that. So there. You want 2 sheets of felt. So the easiest way to do that is to make a paper template of your cactus shape. So if you want yours to be the same sort of size as mine, let's just see. From the highest point at the top in the middle to the bottom, it's 16 centimetres, and about 2.7 centimetres across. Another way to judge it might be these pointy bits are about 2 to 3 millimetres outside of the outline of my thumb, and it wants to be about the thickness of 2 fingers. Okay, so you want to get your sheet of felt, lay your template out, and then use tailor's chalk if you've got it, just to draw it out on your felt, or a biro would work as well. So on 2 different colours, on 2 different tones of green felt, I've drawn out my cactus shape and cut it out. I've got 2 different colours just because that's what I had lying around, but you could use both the same, exactly the same colour if you want. It looks just as good. So once you've cut them out, you want to pop them together and just check there's no weird bits sticking out. Just going to get my scissors and cut some weird bits off. You just want to make sure at this stage that everything lines up nice and neatly, really. So I can see there's a bit sticking out there. Okay, and once you're happy, you want to pin them together. Trying not to warp the shape too much, and again, once you've pinned them together you might want to just give it another snip to make sure it matches up properly, because we're not going to be turning this inside out, we're just going to be sewing it the same way. So the way it is now is the way it's going to be when it's finished. Okay. So again, I'm just checking to see if there's any weird sticking out bits. Actually, I'm just going to move that pin up to there to give it a bit more stability. think that'll be okay. So now we want to start stitching. So you want your green thread, and it's just a single thread, so I've not doubled it over. I'll just put a double knot in the end. So you want to start at the bottom, and you want to make your stitches quite small and as neat as you can, but if you get any slightly unneat ones, don't worry too much, because once we get the orange spiky spiny bits on, it'll kind of draw attention away from any dodgy stitching. So all the time when you're sewing, just make sure that your edges are properly lined up, it's not being pulled in one direction and warping. It shouldn't do with the pins in, but just keep an eye on it. Oops. Okay, so you just want to sew all the way around like that with neat even stitches, as even as you can. Try and keep your stitches quite small. So all the way around the edge. All the way, so it will take a bit of time until you get to the bottom. Don't sew up this bit, because the next stage is we're going to stuff it. So just in a tangle. So for the stuffing, you could use toy stuffing or cushion stuffing, wadding that you buy in craft shops or online. But I sometimes have online deliveries, food deliveries, and to keep things cool, they have this, I don't even know what you'd call it, but it's basically wadding. It's not natural fibres, not exactly sure what it's made of, but it's nice and soft and you can pull it apart, so it's very similar to wadding. So if you don't want to spend any money, you've got this from packaging, you could just use that. So that's what I've used for mine. You'll need more than that. You want to make sure it's nice and firm so that your pins don't slip out, and also it helps give it stability and stand up properly, and makes it look just better. You don't want any weird empty saggy bits of cactus. So once you've stuffed your cactus, then you want to do the spiky tufts. So again, this bit's quite time consuming because every single one you need to knot off and cut. I'll just show you what I mean by that. So I've got a doubled up thread, I don't know if you can see. So that's one length of thread, long length, and then tied at the bottom just with a single knot. And then to do the spikes, I noticed I left quite a big gap, so I'll do one there. You go through, like that, and then go back as close to the original knot as you can. Back through again trying to stay close to where the original stitches and knots are. Oops. And then back through one more time. And so you'll wind up with the original knot you made, the spiky bit sticking out there, and then your last stitch will bring your thread out on this side, and then you just need to snip it off. Like that. So if you do that all the way around, and then your cactus should be looking quite cactusy. Then it's time to do the little flowers. So these are just 3 small circle shapes of orange felt. If you don't have these colours, by the way, then any bright colour would work. So you might have yellow or pink, you might want to do the spines in pink, yellow or whatever you've got, and then the flowers in a matching colour, or you could do them in a contrasting colour, as long as it's nice and bright and fun. So to make the flowers, you want to tie a double knot in your orange thread. And then fold the circle, into quarters. These don't need to be even circles, you can see mine aren't, they're just really rough circles, so don't worry about drawing around anything. So I folded it into quarters. I'll just show you again. So in half and then in half again. And then I'm just doing a few stitches through the bottom just to hold it together. And you might just want to do a stitch a little bit further up just to hold those two edges together a bit. Like that. And then without snipping or knotting it off, you can just sew it straight onto your cactus. So just a few stitches through the top. You can put them wherever you want really, but I think it looks nice if you have one on the top of each point. So that's the flower. And then I'm going to grab your pot, and I got some brown felt and I drew around the base, but just made it slightly bigger, like 2mm bigger all the way around, so that it wouldn't just drop straight down to the bottom, so it would cling to the sides a bit. Or you could do the same but draw around the opening edge there, and make it a few millimetres smaller, but I found it easier to do it using that as my template. Then finally, the last thing to do is to sew up. So once your cactus is stuffed and you've sewn everything on, you can sew up the bottom edge. And then you just want to glue it into your pot. If you have a glue gun, that's probably the best thing to use to give it stability. I couldn't find my glue gun, so I've just used this, but it does take a little while. So it's Yoo-Hoo all-purpose adhesive. It takes you a little while to dry, so that's why mine's still a little bit wibbly wobbly. I probably shouldn't be messing with it while it's drying, but never mind. What would be even better, but again I haven't got, is if you've got some Oasis, which looks a bit similar to this, but it's a bit more sturdy, and it's for dried flower arrangements. You just put a hole in it and then stand it in, and it'd just be much more stable. So once you've got your circle, you just want to cut a little hole in the middle. So I found the easiest way was to just, like we were doing with the flowers, fold it into quarters and then snip a bit off. Don't do too much because you can make the hole bigger with your fingers. That's a bit small. You can just do that until it's big enough to fit the base of your cactus through, and then you just pop it through and glue it all in. And then to decorate the pot, I've just used this, which is washi tape, which is kind of a paper masking tape but with patterns on. You can rip it, you don't even need to cut it with scissors, and I just wrapped it around fairly scrappily really. I wasn't too bothered about it all lining up evenly. And then finally I used glue dots to stick the pom-pom trim on. But I think what would be better is to use some more of this glue and then maybe pinch it in place while it dries with a paper clip or a peg, a little mini peg, something like that, just to hold it in place. But glue dots, they're okay if you've got those. And that's it. Thank you for watching.